Hi there, this is the Dark Queen. I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to my channel, Creepy Signal, bringing you all your nightmare material. And ahoy, mateys, it's story time with the Dark Queen. And tonight, I present to you the torso. What can I say? How does one start their story, especially in group therapy? They say I have depression and PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. How? They say, I'm so young. But I think about the darkness in this world. And I think about the things I don't understand, and it haunts me. And I think it killed my dream. And from there, it leaves me where I am now. Back to when I was 17. I was in high school, being brought up in a one-parent household. Well, I was a C and D student, and my mom was so busy working, she did the best she could. And most nights, we got home late. She worked usually until around 6 o'clock, which was okay because my drama club, the one thing I loved about school, ended around 5:30, which meant afterwards I could kind of hang around and familiarize myself with the school that looked entirely different, being so empty. And well, there was one thing with my teacher. She told me if I stayed a little later, if I used that extra time while waiting for my mom to really apply myself, I might be like this promising student she once had. She said she probably would have won an Oscar. I thought she was bull-crapping me. But she told me her performances, she had put her heart and her soul into it. She worked every single day, one day working on her diction, one day working on her body language, one day working on her lines. And it made her so fluid in acting that people thought she was really just the person, the character, that she embodied that character. And she talked about her so passionately. And to me, I felt so jealous at that point, to where I said, well, where is she now? Is she in Hollywood? Is she on the silver screen? And my teacher tells me, no, that this student went missing one day, a random day. And that was it. It was like she disappeared. To me, I'm 17. I'm sad for like 10 minutes and then I get over it. I forget all about it because why? I'm a teenager. Everything is all about me, right? And so I do forget about it. And I think about what she told me. That if I really applied myself, I could be great. And then I realized I was getting older and I didn't have the grades that everybody else had. But I had some talent, and if I focused on it, maybe I'd have a chance at some sort of scholarship, being a C and D student, remember? And so I did. I said, you know what? I'm going to be her. I'm going to apply myself. I'm not going to screw around for that extra 30 minutes. I'm going to work and master at being an actress, being great. And I would. I'd practice with the completely empty and dark theater. But I didn't care because I thought one day it'll be filled and they'll want an encore and all that other stuff your dreams take you out to. And I realized the later and later I got out, that it became more of a ghost town in my school. But there was one thing that I got to look forward to. At 6 o'clock, I always got greeted by the janitors, Javi and Raul. They were cool guys. They definitely were. You know, one time there was this total creeper that saw me coming out of the building and asked me if I wanted a ride, and I had told him, no, get away from me. And he didn't listen. He said, are you sure you don't want to ride? And I said, look, I'm waiting for my mom. I'm fine. And he got closer to me. But that's when Javi and Raul came over and asked if everything was all right. And ever since then, we've been really cool. So I always looked forward to, 6 o'clock so I could always high-five him. But I noticed something. There was something strange. 6 o'clock, most of the teachers were gone. Most of them. You had some of the occasional teachers stressing over finals and, with their doors open, muttering to themselves or complaining to a fellow teacher, lending an ear. But every time I passed by, they always said hello, greeted me, asked me how things were, and, well, were very cordial. Except for one. His name was Dr. Weathers. He was a biology teacher. How do you describe blankness? He was a 6'4" biology teacher. And he had the most bluest eyes that you've ever seen. But they glared at you with this blank, careless stare. You could tell him the building was on fire. You could tell him you've been abused by your best friend, and he would clearly have no reaction. People sometimes made fun of him because he was just so detached. He always had his door closed, but you could tell he was there because his light was on in his classroom, and you could see through the windows. You couldn't see anything else, just the light on. And to paint you a picture of the building, on the right side was the mathematics and literary wing, and on the left side was the science and arts. It was a Thursday. How do you say on a Thursday all of this happened? I remember it like it was just a few hours ago. It was like 5:50. And so I decided that my voice was just exhausted from going over lines. I was like, Jesus Christ, my voice is so raspy. I sound like a 60-year-old smoker. And so I decided to leave early and maybe just watch the cars pass by while waiting for my mom. And, well, with the science and arts wing, well, you gotta get through the science area in order to get to the front doors where my mom usually greeted me, with her car. And that's usually where I saw Javi and Raul as they made their way in. And then I saw the light on, and I wondered, what was Dr. Weathers doing in there? It was so strange. Thinking, what was this teacher doing? I had Dr. Weathers, mind you. And, well, his class was very cut and dry. He went over material that he was going to exactly verbatim test you on. I'm a C and D student. I think I've reminded you like 3 times, and I made a 97 in his class. So clearly that is telling you something. And then I realized I had to go back. I had to go to the restroom. I had had 2 chocolate milks and 2 cherry colas, and my bladder was about to burst. And so I did. I made my way to the creepy science bathroom. And let me paint you a picture of that. Imagine 70s decor, run down, like Dangerous Minds, with a paint job that clearly says, get me the color of crap and put gloss on it. And that was the paint job. We're talking black coated toilet tops. I mean, I don't even know if do prisons have toilets like this? I don't even know. But we did, and it was super creepy. And so I made my way out of there because I was kind of creeped out. I wasn't sure if Freddy Krueger was going to pop out or what. And so after I left the restroom, I decided I was going to go head towards the double doors and maybe sketch outside while waiting for my mom. And then I passed by Dr. Weathers' classroom again, and his door was still closed. And so I kept walking, and this is a far hallway, mind you, to reach those double doors. It's almost like a film shot where the room just goes further and further away from you. And then I hear it. Crunch, 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 crunch. And I'm thinking, what is that? Do I have a plastic bag in my backpack that I forgot about? And so I keep walking and try to just shake it off. And then I hear it again. Crunch, crunch. And I just keep walking. And guess what happens? I'm looking down at the floor because I like to do that. That's sort of my thing. I like to look at the floor and think about my future, think about all things. I don't know, maybe I'm a ponderer and I just like to find a focal point. But the floor is so shiny and so grainy based off the texture of the tile. I like that. And I see it. There's something behind me. It's little. And it's moving. And I keep walking. And I keep walking until I'm at a good distance between me and it, about 10 feet. And then I turn around to see what the hell it is. And then that's when I see it. I see this thing that I can't even understand when I first look at it. I know that it's some sort of like thing, but then I realize it's got a t-shirt on, a shirt like mine, a collared shirt, a uniform shirt, but it's bloody and dirty. And connected to it are arms that are moving it, and it's moving itself. And somehow, some way, it's been cut in half, and it's a torso with flesh just dangling off. And then I look up. I look behind it. It's dragging something, and it's its head, I think. I'm not even sure what I'm looking at. It's like a plastic bag that's been covered around the head. I can't even tell if it's a guy or a girl. And it's got tape all around its neck. And it moves so sporadically, like it's wanting to scream, but it can't. And its hands are just there. And I'm so terrified. I'm so scared. And I don't even know what to do. And so I start to choke. I start choking on air because I want to gasp. I want to gasp and scream, and I'm not even sure anymore. And then all of a sudden, I start coughing. And then Dr. Weathers, he comes out and says, "Is everything all right?" And then I look at him and I scream and I run to him, and he asks me what's wrong, and I can't let it out. And he looks in the direction of that torso, and I look that way too, and I see nothing. It's gone. And then I look back at him and I try to word the things that I want to say, that we need to get out of here, that there is something in this building. And he left his door open, and I can see in his classroom, he's got a laptop playing something where someone is screaming. And it's not just any scream. It's not a movie. It doesn't sound like a horror movie where there's a soundtrack. I can hear whirring. I can hear weird things, like an amateur video. And I look in its direction, and I see a child getting tortured, screaming and crying, and it looks so real. And then I step away from Dr. Weathers, and then he grabs my wrist and he pulls me in his classroom. And then all goes black. The power is out. We are in his classroom and the power is out. And he whispers to me, "Don't say a word." And he puts his hand over my mouth. And then I hear it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And then he pulls out his cell phone for light. And he's looking around. He's looking at me. And we hear it again. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And I can tell he can hear it because he's moving around, looking for the sound, guiding his light around in the pitch darkness. And then I hear it again. Crunch, crunch, crunch from the opposite side. And then all of a sudden we go down. It pulls him down by his legs. And he whimpers and lets me go. And I crawl away and I begin to sob and I'm in shock. I don't know what's happening. All of a sudden the lights turn on and I see it on top of him. And it's ripping his stomach open and he is crying. He's trying to move it off of him, but it won't let up. It starts yanking and ripping his skin from his stomach and continuing to rip open his rib cage. And then it starts going straight for his lungs and it starts pulling it out. It starts yanking, having a tough time doing it. And he is crying. He is starting to gurgle and cough up blood. And he's looking to me. He's reaching towards me, asking me, pleading for help with his eyes. He can't even talk anymore. And I'm just there. I'm watching all of this. And it is just ripping him apart. And then he fades away with his eyes open. And his hand falls to the ground. And then the lights go out. And then the lights go back on. And I can hear footsteps running. And it's Javi. He's come in the room. And he sees me. And I am just sitting there across Dr. Weathers with a pool of blood and his entrails all around him. And I scream, help, help. And then all of a sudden, he holds me and he tells me everything is going to be all right. When the police get there, they try to question me. They have several detectives sit me down and tell them what happened. And at first they don't believe me. They think I'm some sort of psychopath. And then they see the handprints. They're everywhere, even on the ceilings. And then they get my fingerprints. And what they find is that it's not my prints. They belong to the missing girl that my teacher was telling me about, that they never found. And after that, after all of that, I didn't want to be an actress anymore. I told myself, I'm gonna get into forensics and I'm gonna find where he buried her and I'm gonna give her the burial she deserves. She saved my life. Well, this is The Dark Queen. I really do hope you enjoyed that short story called The Torso. If you like this story and would like to hear more stories, please do subscribe to my channel, Creepy Signal, bringing you all your nightmare material. This is The Dark Queen signing out.